Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Cryptid Cartoons with Dirty Fylth. I had an original drawing. I was going to draw Sasquatch with his Mega Super Burger, sharing it with Carl, Stanton, and Alan. Except one of the cats, we're not going to name anybody, but their name starts with G and ends in Gargoyle, or Gremlin, rather. I'm just going to throw them both under the bus because I was only the Gremlin that was in the room, so they're both in trouble. No snacks. But they decided to use it as a scratching post. So fortunately, I had another set of stickers that I was going to paint up this week. And we're going to do that instead. It's mostly a bunch of summer stickers because the art walk's coming up in a couple weeks. And the next set of plushies are going to have the original set of, original set of stickers and these ones to go with them. So it'll be nice. This first square out of the 6 is Carl at the beach, and he's got his little floaty tube on. I was going to say a belt buckle, but it's definitely not a belt buckle. I guess it could be a belt buckle for water if you were weird enough like that. But hope everyone's having a good Saturday. My Saturday so far has been nice. We set up the tent for the art walk and gave it a try, and I was able to not start it on fire, which is always good. And after this, we're going to my auntie's for a barbecue, and I'm bringing special deviled eggs. Apparently everybody likes them, and they always ask me to make them, and I always tell them no. And then I make them anyways after they're all upset that they're not getting any. The secret is to put a little tiny bit of curry powder in to get rid of the sulfur flavor of the eggs. My adopted dad taught me that trick. It actually works really good. I know there's some people in the world that'll have deviled eggs and they put black olives on them. Looking at you, John Russell. But also, not sure if he's here. Oh, geez, crap. Well, Jess, I wasn't expecting you to be in the chat room, so spoiler alert, I guess. Well then, anyway, just try not to tell anybody else, I guess. It can be our secret, everybody. It's ruined. Secret's out. Cat's out of the bag. I can't keep secrets anyways. Terrible. Hello, Sackage. Anyways, as I was saying, John Russell, with his 13 books that he's got, he has deviled eggs with black olives on them. I'm not sure if I would like that or not, but I mean, I like black olives, but I don't know if they go on deviled eggs. So, yeah, whatever. I'll have to give it a try one day. But I'm not sure if the black olives would actually make it to the deviled egg or not, because I like, all the pickle juice, all the black olive juice would be eaten, and all the black olives might not be able to make it to there because I'm a giant fan of olives. My favorite olives are the mammoth stuffed olives with garlic. Anyway, enough of that garlic talk. Okay. Here we are, Carl at the beach. This time, he's actually not even wearing any shorts underneath this because, he's Carl. So, anyways, I also want to say, I'm not sure if he's here or not. He said he was going to try to make it, but Big Dog, if you're here and you're not at work doing soccer, aka Dave's favorite sport, then thanks for coming out. Make sure you say hi to Stanton for Fox and I, and shoot me a message one day. Tell me how he's doing. You should bring him to one of the games one day. See if he enjoys that. He'll need it for his records, that's for sure, at least. I was actually thinking about doing a Loch Ness Monster thing, but does it ever really get summertime in Scotland, or is it just rainy all the time? I can't even go ask my butcher that I used to go to. Andy. Great name. Because he moved back to Scotland. I used to go there, and that's where I get my haggis. And I could understand about, 3 out of the 10 words he'd say to me. And I just nod and look like a dork. So that always works out good. Ooh, sriracha sauce and deviled eggs is on fire, apparently. Well, Sackage, I'll take your word for that because you've never steered me wrong before. Maybe a little bit of a bad influence, but never steered me wrong. Actually, definitely a bad influence. And now we're going to do Oceanside with. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna make that a pink flotation device. We sell those at my work. Pink ones. Anyways, I was gonna do a tic tac, but I'm gonna break the rules here and have a classic 1950s saucer coming out of the water instead. Apparently, that's where all their bases are, underwater. They just build a UFO for whatever mission they need, and then it goes back and they dismantle it. Apparently, that's what they do. I'm not 100% sure. I've never seen it. I don't like going near the ocean. I'm a flatlander. I went swimming in the ocean when I lived in Vancouver, and that was that was fairly terrifying. I mean, a pretty good swimmer, but I can swim in all types of sloughs in Alberta and whatnot. But ocean is a little bit different because the current, it pulls you out, and you think you're getting farther or closer to the shore, but you're just getting further and further away. And also, there's things that'll eat you down there. So if I ever happen to have to go to the ocean, I'm just going to bring Dave with me because they'll go after him first because the sharks can smell Dave's fear. I'm more scared of getting, crushed by a whale or something in the ocean, having paralyzed limbs, not be able to swim anywhere and floating incessantly. Wouldn't be unlike probably floating in space forever if you just, what? That'd be actually a pretty cool way to go. Just float in space indefinitely. Wonder how long that would take. Well, you'd obviously starve to death or dehydrate to death, but I mean, you'd want to be in a different galaxy of some sort instead of stuck in the old Milky Way. Then it'd be some kind of Truman Show thing. You take your helmet off and turns out you can breathe in space, and we've been lied to the whole time. Wouldn't that be a kick in the rump roast? And it turns out space is just like water, and you can go up there and swim through space. Wow. Yeah, Jennifer, Dave doesn't do the sharks. Was it the local grocery store / supermarket mega store thing, and they had some sharks in there. They were really like plushy sharks. They're really big. And so I found a smaller one, and I didn't tell Dave, and I just mailed it to him. It's kind of funny. Wish I could have been there to see the look on his face when he opened up the package and there's a plushy shark in there. What are the odds you can make a plush shark?
Pretty good.
That's all right. Dave's not listening. Or he probably is. He's probably out in the forest, actually. With that little Tim James guy. All right. Here we go. There's some water. It's a little bit green. It's more of a lagoon. The other couple drawings, I did a Bigfoot, which I showed to my friend Mark Doggy Dog, and he took about 20 minutes to try to find it before he figured out that I was just yanking his chain. Poor Mark. Even he took his glasses out and everything. It was hilarious, but we'll get to that later. So I was actually playing some of my regular Nintendo last night because that's about as many buttons as I can handle for video game controllers too. And I got to the level where you're the desert where there's an evil looking sun, and he's always really grouchy looking. And I kind of realized that I modeled my son after that. It's really orange, and it's got a little bit of, or it's yellow, it's got a little bit of orange in it. And I used to always draw a grumpy face in the sun, but I don't do that anymore because I don't think that the sun is actually a living being. It might be. I mean, if UFOs are a conscious entity of some sort, then why couldn't the sun be a conscious entity? I don't know. Hello, Mel WD-40, coming in to lube up dirty filth. Jeez. I even had a shower too, so perfect. Clean and lubed. Oh, yeah. So here we go. Just about done this one. I'm excited. I don't have to make dinner today, and I'll be able to take all the leftovers home because everybody I know never eats leftovers because I don't know why. They're weird or something to that effect, but that's always a bonus. It's like leftovers. Usually when I make butter chicken, I can stretch that stuff out for like 3 days. Because after it's all done, you can make soup out of it. And then once that's done, have a whole bunch of rice left over. You can just make yourself some plain old rice with soy sauce, like I used to eat all the time when I lived in Vancouver and I was poor with my cousin Johnson. Speaking of that guy, I'm bringing a wad of cash over for him today. If you're listening, Johnson, thanks for the money. It made my art much easier. I borrowed a wad of cash from the Bank of Johnson, DDT, because I had to buy a new scanner. So I bought this ridiculously massive scanner. I could probably scan like an entire dead body on the thing, really. And it works out good because I used to have to cut my art down because regular scanners aren't 11 by 12 or whatever. This thing's, I'm not really good with math and sizes and junk, but it's big. But the point is, I don't have to cut my art down anymore. That saves a lot of time. So when I actually go to scan all my art, which I've usually been pretty tardy with, it makes it easier. And it also helps keep everything when I go to store it in line and it's not all over the place and goofy looking and stuff falling all over. You'd have to see it. If you're ever in Edmonton, you can come over and I'll show you the complete madness. That's all the cartoons I've got piled up here. Speaking of cartoons, if you live in Edmonton or the surrounding area, come out to the White Avenue Art Walk. 1 second here. Had to get my gray boy. The White Avenue Art Walk from July 11 to 13th. I'll be there. Fox Vegas will be there. There will be plushies up for adoption. Buy some artwork. Go to Checkers Pizza. Get a slice of pizza from them because that's the best place. Don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. They're wrong. I'm right. Speaking of Checkers Pizza, I was there on Tuesday. I think it was Tuesday. Yes, it was Tuesday. Went and got my package for the art walk. Figured out where we're going to be. We're not spot 11 or 13. We're number 8, which is kind of sad, but 8 or 9, one of the two. I'm going to request number 13 next year. I'll be like, I've been here for a while. You guys should just give me 13 on principle. And they'll probably just look at me like I have 2 heads. But anyways, any plushies that aren't sold will be up for adoption. We'll have those handy dandy afterwards. They'll probably all gone though. People like those things. Palm trees. First time I seen a palm tree was when I went to Vegas. An actual palm tree, not a fake palm tree that they used to have at West Edmonton Mall. But they did used to have this big contraption at West Edmonton Mall. It was a whole bunch of steel balls and bearings and junk, and it was something like a mad scientist or some kind of tinker that would live in the forest would build. And do you remember that thing? Yeah. Yeah, I think, yeah, you can be right. The Telus World of Science also has something similar to that, but not on such a grand scale. West Edmonton Mall used to be cool. They used to have like peacocks and stuff in there too. That was neat. Those were loud and annoying. Anyway, let's we'll do the Bigfoot next because I slop all over the page here with my paper. Hello, Lulu Bell and Catherine Jones. Excuse me. This is the drawing of the Bigfoot that I did, and I showed it to my pal Mark, and it took him forever to figure out I was just messing with him. He's like, "Are you sure there's a Bigfoot there?" He's like, "Because sometimes you draw him in there, and he's just peeking out from behind the tree." I'm like, "He's there, Mark. Don't worry." And the poor guy didn't find him, and then I was like, "I'm just kidding, Mark. He's not actually there." It's like, "I thought we were friends." Like, "We are friends, Mark. That's why I bug you." He's a good guy. All right. There's probably a Jessica Jones in this picture too. Out there with the dog and the boy and all their pals out looking for Bigfoot. I could find Dogman instead. That'd be kind of comical. Go out in the forest looking for Bigfoot, then you find, I don't even know what the collective pronoun for a whole bunch of dogmen would be, but somebody could invent that. Because I know a whole bunch of ravens is an unkindness of ravens, which I thought was really neat. Apparently pandas is an embarrassment of pandas, and that just fits them perfectly because they're probably, aside from my gremlin, they're probably the dumbest animals on the planet. Yeah, I had to figure out what the collective pronoun for excuse me, for ravens was for an old RPG campaign. I think I've rambled about this before, but yeah, it's actually really good. That's probably one of my favorite campaigns. All the characters died, by the way. Maybe one actually survived, and the halfling might still be alive. I mean, they're pretty bouncy. They're short. They absorb shock pretty easily when they hit the ground. But so yeah, I had to figure that out, and it was interesting. My players appreciated it. Yes, a murder of crows. There's actually two big ravens that had decided to move into the complex where I live. They're that way on the other side where the person that lives there has vines growing up the side of their house, and apparently that's okay, but I'm not allowed to do that, so I had to build a trellis. But so it happens when you live around a bunch of crybabies that don't like cats or anything happy, and they're just miserable skags, but that's a different story. All right. So here's the Bigfoot. He's in there somewhere in the forest watching. In other news, I got my second book all finished. It's in the publishing phases. After much swearing and cursing, I got everything all that I needed all together. And it should be ready for sure. Like Macho Man 1000% sure within the next week or so. And then I've already started the third book because I have to do a trilogy. You can't just do one or two. You have to do a trilogy. And I originally thought I was going to do a quintet, except that I'm not going to do that anymore because large books take a long time to do. And I'm not really good at writing. It's not really my favorite thing. I feel like if I'm writing, I'm just cheating on my cartoons. Like my cartoons are going to come downstairs and be like, "What are you doing writing?" And I'll be like, "Oh, it's not what you think." I just fell onto the computer and started writing. So I'm going to do smaller books and probably release them every 3 months, like a little magazine type thing. And I'll probably put some information about possible plushies. And if anybody wants to write a story or something, I'll throw that in there. It'll probably be about 20, 24 pages, maybe even 26. And then that way I'll be able to put out more art for people to collect for themselves, and mostly just for me. Yeah, cats are good. Surprisingly, the dorks aren't even here right now. I don't know what they're doing. They probably know that we're leaving, and they're not going to get fed till later on. I think they'll be okay. They usually are. They're cats anyway. They're not high maintenance like dogs or people. You just put food down and call it a day and leave them there. But anyways, the idea that I had behind doing shorter little magazine type things is my friend Varla Ventura. She keeps, I forget the guy's name. I think it's Montauk is Strange. I think is his YouTube page or Instagram or something. Anyways, he keeps putting out these books every couple months, and I think they're called like the Shadow Zine or something. Anyways, it just seems cool that he's able to do that, and it keeps people up to date with what you're doing instead of similar with my art. Everybody's been waiting about 900 years for the second book, and it's, like I said, a lot of writing. And I'm not a big fan of doing a lot of writing. I don't mind it. If I'm going to do writing, I'd like to do it for my RPG campaigns as opposed to writing stuff for books. And although it kind of goes hand in hand, I just figure I'm going to do something every 3 months. It shouldn't be too bad. And that way I'll be able to put my comics that I'm doing together, and they'll be able to be kind of spaced out a little bit. So there'll be anticipation. Everybody likes anticipation. Like when you hear thunder and then or when you see the lightning and you're waiting for the thunder to happen. All right. These will all be turned into stickers too, by the way. And I'll probably end up sending them out at Christmas time, a couple of them, with all the Christmas cards that I send out. If you want a Christmas card, email me. Just go to my website, fylthy.com, fylthy.com, bonk. And then just shoot me a message with a post office box or mailing address or something. And apparently I've been muted for a while. I don't know how that happened. Do you think I've been muted the entire time?
Well,
Probably.
Until
Hmm.
cats. Well, after cats and the thing about the comic and magazines, sometime after that, I think.
Weird. Hopefully I wasn't muted the entire time. Kitty Cattywhack, can you confirm that I haven't been muted? If I have, then there's no way. Oh, okay. Perfect. I have no idea how that happened. Maybe it was Ghost of Blob walking over the thing. Who knows? Possibly. I miss my blob. You know, I'd be pretty selfish and say animals should live forever, but then once you're gone, I mean, can anybody else really give your pets the good scratchings? Who knows? But anyway, I need to get my slightly brown. Oops, that's a little bit too much. So now that I've finished getting my book together and everything, I'll be back on the show with Dave during the week because it's just been a pain in the rump roast doing that. I'll have to come back to the little square box there. I got to do a quick little detail action here. I've been missing drawing on the show during the week because this week we actually had a whole bunch of really good guests I wanted to kind of ramble to, but I guess I can ramble to them anyways. I can just email them and everything, but it's not the same as being on the show. Anyway, other than that, another interesting little tidbit that I did is a friend of mine got in touch with me a couple weeks ago, and he was thinking we might be able to get something together to do perhaps an animated series or some sort, or at least just maybe a one-off. So it'd basically be myself doing all the character design and everything, and then obviously the animators would do their stuff. They'd probably have to change the design a little bit to make everything fit, which would kind of neato. And I could definitely do all the voiceover stuff because I tend to make up goofy voices all the time. That's what happens when you don't have any brothers or sisters growing up. You just kind of invent your own friends. Ooh, excuse me. Okay. Out of the way, pens, brushes. Okay, this next one is a UFO flying around in the city. It's cloaked. Nobody can really see it. And anybody that takes a picture of it, they're just going to get told that, nah, it was a drone. It's funny how everything's a drone now. It used to be swamp gas back in the day. I'm fairly certain that I filmed something anomalous in the sky. My mom's seen it too. It wigged her out. Now, every once in a while, I like to remind her about it, and it bugs her. She gets all weird and everything. She's not really a woo type person, so I think those are the most credible types of witnesses to UFOs, is people that, well, the phenomena itself could be a ghost or something, or Bigfoot. People that aren't interested in this stuff and they witness something, or they have an encounter with something that shouldn't be there or they're not used to, and it just kind of, I guess for lack of a better term, breaks their mind. And you hear about hunters that go hunting and they've been out in the woods for 40, 50 years. They've had bears and moose charge them and everything, and then all of a sudden they encounter Bigfoot or Dogman or some kind of biped humanoid, and then it just really wigs them out, and they go, I'm never going back in those woods. Those are kind of it's different than when you have people like me. If I went out, I'd hear something weird like wood knock or something, like, yeah, it's definitely a Sasquatch. But people that who have never had any encounters with the stuff, that's when they're genuine about it, that's usually the best experiences. I have to move this over because when I drew this, I didn't think it through and I put it too close to the side. So I'm just going to drop the background for Lady Nightcrawler here. Ooh, speaking of Lady Nightcrawler, oh yeah, this is my absolutely new favorite plushie that we got. Lady Nightcrawler by the absolutely wonderful Fox Vegas. Kick ass, by the way. She struggled mightily with this. Just the skirt.
An hour of weeding vinyl.
An hour of swearing and cursing with vinyl. I'm sure there was probably a lot of swearing, right?
Actually, no, there wasn't.
Okay, there was no swearing. But anyways, this is the coolest thing in the entire universe.
It's just a literal pain in the neck.
Oh, bonk. Yes. So doing the Lady Nightcrawler here while the other stuff dries up a little bit. But as I was saying, people that don't normally experience weird things are not into it and they see it and they tell people about it, those are usually the best. Or the most, I wouldn't say credible, because some people might make it up, but I don't know. I slept crooked. My neck is terribly sore right now.
Benno from Oz asks, any luck with the court illustrator job? Going back a couple of weeks.
Oh, yes. Benno from Oz. The court illustrator job. Apparently, it's mostly freelance stuff. I've kind of looked into it. You kind of have to live in a place where there's a lot of court things happening. So I'd have to probably live somewhere like New York or LA or something, two places that I would only like to go to eat the food and leave promptly because there's just way too many people there. But who knows? It may happen. I checked if there was any sort of court artist jobs in Edmonton, and there's nothing that I know of yet. I actually have a lawyer that I could go talk to. I should actually do that. Get a hold of Hogel and be like, Hogel, what are you doing? I bring over a case of beer just for no reason, and then get over there and be like, by the way, do you know anyone that needs a court artist? Yeah. He's the only... He's like 800 years old, and he's blind, but he's a lawyer, and he's ruthless. It's hilarious. I took the bus one time, and then they had stopped everyone to ask for the tickets, and I didn't have any proof of purchase, and so I had to go to pay a fine, and I wanted to get lenience on it, so I went there, and I told my friend Hogel beforehand. I go, Hogel, I got to go to the court and plead lenience on the ticket. He's like, just go up to him and says, Hogel says, go F yourself, judge, and you should be good to go. I'm like, I don't think that's going to run very well. So I didn't do that, but I did only have to pay $50 for it was, I think it was 120 or something, and they wanted me to pay, but I asked for leniency because I did have my ticket. I just couldn't find it in my backpack. Ooh, my backpack full of junk that I had there. And so, yeah, it was just kind of funny. He's a good guy. Actually, funny story is I did landscaping for him one day. I never did landscaping. I went over there one day and he goes, hey, can you help this guy with some landscaping? And I'm just wearing my flip-flops and everything. And yeah, sure, I can do that. And I'm not built for landscaping, definitely. But it was pretty cool. He gave me like $400. So I would do that again for $400. But man, it's a little bit labor intensive. I mean, look at these hands. They're smooth. I've never worked a day in my life. Hello, Dave. Aren't you supposed to be out in the forest, Dave? He's probably remote foresting right now with that Tim guy. Oops. So yes, that was my story about the lawyer. Actually, anytime I've ever actually had to go to court for nothing bad, just simple memory lapses, we'll say, I've gotten off the hook pretty good. Yeah, good times. But I'm a fairly good guy. I don't do anything bad anymore. The occasional swearing or jaywalking once in a while. Every time I jaywalk, my German ancestors just cringe a little bit. Why is he doing that? But anyways, next drawing here, we got little Clampy. He was what was in the original lobster suitcase, which turns out it was sort of he's kind of a lobster crab type mix with a seashell on it. I don't know. He's some kind of cryptid, I guess. I unintentionally invented him. Wait a minute. No, Bino. It's not mirrored. I can assure you of that. However, I can write with my left hand. I can't draw with my left hand, but I can write with my left hand. I get hit by a car one time. My right hand was all crippled for a while, so I had to learn to write with my left hand for like 2-3 months. Plus, my eyeball was really bloody and gruesome looking. Which actually turns out it was also the eyeball, the same side of my face I got sucker punched in at Safeway one time. So that was interesting. That eyeball's had a lot of trauma and it still works pretty good. So no superpowers, unfortunately. What a ripoff. They like use like X-ray vision, and I could go and you go to like the circus and they got those guys. It's like, all right, which card is the ace of spades? Like that one. You'd be like, are you sure? I'm like, I'm 100% positive, Jim. But that's never gonna happen. Yeah, that was interesting. I was riding my bike home and then waiting for the light, and I was crossing the street in a marked sidewalk, crosswalk. And then I just remember I was biting my tongue really bad and it was painful. And then some emergency EMS people were like, hey, don't sit up. You got hit by a car. I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, no, don't move. And so, yeah, I refused ambulance services and health services. Probably the stupidest thing I've done in a long time. Someone's playing with a Hilty. And then anyway, so I rode back to my adopted dad's house and he's like, what happened to you? And I said, well, apparently I got hit by a car. And he's like, why aren't you at the hospital? I'm like, I couldn't afford the bill. So I woke up the next day and I went to go to work, and Brian's like, yeah, you're not going to work. So I fought him for it. And he goes, yeah, I'm just going to call Greg and you're not going to work. Then I showed up at work the next day after that, and my head was all swollen and my eyeball was swollen shut and it was all gruesome and I was scabby, and it was interesting. I don't suggest getting hit by cars. It's adverse to your health. Same with things like falling down a ladder, fighting a dog man or a Sasquatch. Okay. Mr. Clampy's got a nice son. I was able to do mostly daytime stuff because, Nightcrawler doesn't really go out at night. Actually, it's still a little damp. By the time I do the beach here, I should be able to go back to Lady Nightcrawler and get that done. So, Lady Nightcrawler, she DJs at the Liquid Lounge, which is probably the best place in the city that you can go and listen to EBM, electronic, and industrial stuff. She also has a garden. She's a green thumb. She's currently growing some vicious hot peppers that she's going to sell. And there will probably be someone stupid enough to eat them. It's me. I'm stupid enough to eat hot peppers. Except I'd probably give that Pepper X a good shot, just for good measure. Dave likes hot stuff. Dave, you should come down to Edmonton and try some ridiculously stupid hot peppers. I will bring ice cream because you'll need it. Actually, I've only ever I had hot wings once where you had to sign a waiver, and that was pretty interesting. It turned out the guy just took a whole bunch of different stupid hot sauces and extracts and just threw them together. He didn't actually make his own hot sauce, so it doesn't really count. Hold on, I gotta have a swig of my delicious Earl Grey tea. It's not double vodka. You know, Bino, I went golfing once, actual real golfing, and it feels weird either direction to swing the club. So I just kind of swing the club both ways. But I'm actually pretty good at it. I could never do it because it's really expensive and I kind of find it boring after about 3 holes. But where's my red boy? Mr. Soviet pen. But yeah, it was pretty interesting. It was my pal Watson's whatever pre-wedding party, bachelor party thing. Went and did golfing, and it was pretty neat. Never done it before. Had a lot of fun. I like mini golf though. Way faster, a lot easier, less stressful. You don't have some nerds behind you piling through. And yes, I ate one of those Komodo dragon peppers before the show, and my tummy is really warm right now. Maybe because I got hit by a car, it doesn't affect me as much. I don't think that's how it works, but I can assure you that the Komodo dragon peppers are fairly spicy. Yeah, you know, the problem is I got this light here. If I turn it off, I guess that kind of makes it look a little bit better, but it doesn't do any justice. I need to get some, one of these days here, I'll have some professional quality lighting. But purple's my second favorite color. I don't know. Somewhere around there might be good. My table's all wonky. So, Beto from Oz, you should come up to Edmonton and hang out in the studio and correct me while I'm drawing things incorrectly and painting things. Have like a little like whacker stick. I still actually talk to one of my art teachers. I think I pretty much say this every time because he's a really good guy, but my pal Miles, he was the 3D animation or 3D modeling teacher. He was just a genuinely really awesome guy. I think I might phone him tonight after the show at some point in time, just out of nowhere. Hey Miles, how's it going? Good. Okay, bye. Click. He was a good guy. He always made sure everybody was on the same page. It was all brand new people to the 3D animation, 3D modeling world. And he always made sure everybody was on the next page. And he also stressed if anybody needed any help afterwards, he would help you out. And I didn't really believe him, but he did. And I asked for some help, and he took time out of his schedule to help just me, one person out of his class. He didn't have to. He didn't have to stay or anything. But he was a really good guy. He does painting for the city of Vancouver. He does all they got like a Italian area. He did all the like Italian paintings on the cement walls and dockets. And he does during the happy month, he goes and does all the painting on Davies Street and everything. So, whoops. Also, he's got a pretty cool truck. He calls it his orc truck because he's really into Warhammer. And he painted his truck up to look like an orc truck. It's got along the side, there's a shark tooth, kind of like a really sharp teeth mouth. Pardon?
Is it red because the red ones always go faster according to orc?
No, it's white, which doesn't make any sense. I don't know anything about that because I'm not a Warhammer guy. Hello, boy.
Go faster.
Yeah, that's why the insurance is always higher. Hello, mister. 1 second, I have to pet the Gargi boy. He's so handsome. He's the most handsome guy in the entire world. Okay, enough beating up cats. Yeah, just digging in the side of his head with his claw. Okay. Yeah, cure for health concerns, car accident. Yeah. You know, if you get hit by a car hard enough, you won't have to worry about your health anymore. Okay, let's see here. Gotta go back to my fancy purple. What color purple is this? This was from. Oh, it's just. This is Imperial Purple from the Danielle Smith watercolor, the absolute best watercolor in the universe. And Linda Thompson sent me a whole bunch of watercolor paints and this fancy little tray. She's awesome. Yeah. I'm eternally grateful for that. She also ruined all the other types of watercolor for me, because whenever I go buy watercolor now, I got to buy this stuff. It's super expensive, but it lasts a long time, and I really like it because you add just a little bit of water. It can be darker, add a little less, or yeah. Depending on how much water you add, it spreads good, and it just works perfectly for what I need it to do. Can't really explain stuff while I'm rambling away here and trying to concentrate. But anyways, the Daniel Smith stuff is probably some of the best watercolor I've ever used. Actually, when I do a larger painting, it really goes good. The smaller stuff, it just bugs me when I paint the stuff before I get the ink onto it, because everything just looks so blobby and gross. I miss my blob. It looks so blobby and gross that I'm never satisfied till it's all done. And then once it's done, then I'm happier with it. I guess that's the problem artists have. They're just never happy with what they do. You'd win like 1 million prizes or something. You'd be like, I probably could have did this better. Such is creativity, I guess. Actually, I seen the other day, people were posting pictures of Milo Manara's artwork, and he's my absolute favorite artist of all time. But they were just posting this stuff. It was obviously they were just doing it as for some, whatever it was, their post for something or whatever. But they didn't credit the artist, and it just bugs me. Because if you're going to use the guy's artwork, at least let people know. Because same with music. If you're going to make a video or something and you share it and it has music, at least let people know who the artist is, the musician or artist, so that they can go find that and buy their stuff. Because how else are they going to make more unless you buy their junk? I mean, it's nearly impossible to find any Milo Manara work besides heavy metal stuff in Canada, and to import the stuff is ridiculously stupid. But I have earmarked some coin for myself, and I'm going to get his best of type work. Originally seen his stuff in the heavy metal magazine, like I said. Originally liked it because it was just a lot of boobies and some violence and whatnot. But after I got through it and actually paid more attention to the art, and I really like watercolor. So with the watercolor, I look at his stuff right now. I got 4 posters in front of me. Well, 3 and 1 behind me. But that stuff is just, look at it. It's watercolor. But he's just he's one of the masters. There's just people that are relatively talented with art, and then there's people that are just a master at it, and he's one of them. Leave it to the Italians to do that with artwork. I'd like to actually meet the guy one day. Plus, if I went to Italy, I could go see Curly and Camera live and totally swoon over my girlfriend. Anyways, okay, that's all done. I'm gonna have to color in Clampy next. Mr. Clampy. I'm gonna have to draw a cartoon of him now, because he's some sort of, I don't know if he's gonna have a lobster tail. He's more of I think he's like a hermit crab is what he is, really. Yeah, he's a hermit crab. Definitely a hermit crab. Nobody can read my writing except for me. All right. Actually, I'm going to finish up the UFO, because that one needs to get done. It's been sitting there for a while. No UFO sticks around that long. Unless it's a interdimensional portal of some sort. Then it's not really a UFO. It's not really flying anywhere. It's just kind of floating. I guess it could be unidentified floating object. Never mind. I rescind my previous comments. Best part about this is there's very little writing to do. What time are you looking at here? You know, it never seems like it takes like an hour to do this. Yeah, there he is, Mr. Gargoyle, hanging out with one of his two best buddies. Yeah, the Gargoyle, there's two of my friends that come over, Space Captain and Fox Vegas. They both, I've never seen the cat go to them and hang out with anybody else like he does with those two. So maybe one day if I ever need to go out on, if I go to Vegas or something, I'll be like, well, I got two people that can take care of my cat. You know, that'd be really cool. Dolly did this. It was, he took a piece of tinfoil and he had a picture of someone and he sculpted the picture in tinfoil in like 45 seconds. It looked like nothing till he was done. And he just turned it just a little bit and hit the way the light hit it. It was an actual, a portrait. It was incredible. That guy he was something else too. All those old artists back in the day, maybe it was the water or something they drank. Who knows? Or the fancy wine of some sort or extravagant lifestyle. And, you know, I guess if you own like an alpaca or something, then stuff is weird. But anyway, yeah, Bino, if you go to just plug it into like YouTube or something, I think it was Dolly. Just type in Salvatore Dali makes cat fuzz. Makes portrait with tinfoil. I'm pretty sure it was him, but it was just really weird. I've never seen anything like it. I'm looking at it, I go, okay, maybe this was just someone goofing around or he was just piddling around with something, but definitely he made the thing and it was just something else. You've never seen anything like that. It's like 40 seconds, I think it was. He took him to put the thing together. Excuse me. Alrighty. Big dome. Alrighty, color in the UFO dome. Speaking of domes on UFOs, I watched a video today. I think it was from the 60s or the 70s. It was either the late 60s or early 70s. It was in England. And this lady was talking about her kids that had said, hey, Mom, you got to come look. There's a UFO outside. And she's like, no, you're just kidding around, you little wankers or whatever she said to them. Excuse me. Holy. Usually I'd be like, oh, I'll just be quiet for now, but I got to talk for an hour. So 1 second here. Grease up the old jugular pipes. Anyways, the lady came out and she said that she could see it was a silvery disc and had a dome over the top. And she could see two people inside. And she said that both of them were strikingly beautiful. They had golden colored hair and they wore bluish tan type, like a water suit, wetsuit. And they apparently wore this wetsuit and she said that they looked human and they had strikingly gold hair. So, and I guess what the nerds call that is the Nordics. So, yes. And of course, I seen it. I was like, oh, this is really neato. And I usually, when I see something like that, I just text it to myself so I can go back and get a reference on it later. But of course, I didn't. However, I did like the video, so I'll be able to go check it out. I'll share it on my X page. It's where I do all my UFO looking for stuff is usually on X, because that's where most of it is. And there's a lot of weird stuff. Apparently, there's been a lot of crop circles turning up lately. I always thought crop circles were interesting. That's what I should draw as a crop circle one day. I don't think I've ever drawn a crop circle. Good job, me, with my big brain. Hello, boy. Hello, you handsome fella. Hi. Yep. I can't wait. Hello, mister. Yeah, the old Gargy boy. All right, let's sit down there. We don't have all day here. People got things to do, mister. Here, go back, hang out with your buddy. Ugh.
God, you again.
That's secretly why I actually bring you over. Okay. Coloring up Clampy here. Yeah, you know, life drawing was probably my favorite class because at first I didn't like it. It was okay, we're gonna do 10-second poses. I'm like, well, how am I gonna draw anything in 10 seconds? And well, the one life drawing teacher I had was a complete loser, but because he was the type of guy you had to do everything his way, and you weren't allowed to explore your own the way you would draw your own art or work on your own art. So it was I just didn't really like that. But I can't remember the second guy that I had. He was really good, but he emphasized that you're not trying to draw the picture with a 10-second pose. You're just getting that pose and the idea of it. And until then, I figured that everything had to be solid and you had to do everything. You couldn't just quickly sketch something. And then once he took us out to Granville and there was a couple places on the North Shore we went to. It was an animal farm, some other places. Anyways, when we went there and he goes, okay, we're just going to do quick drawings of these birds, these horses, whatever, anything. He goes, they're all going to look, all your drawings are going to look terrible because you're not there to make a masterpiece. You're not going to do a masterpiece. You're just going to put the idea of what you want down. And then you take that and then you do your drawing with it later. And that's what kind of got me finally, it clicked with me that it wasn't just about doing this one-off masterpiece thing and hope, you know, every drawing is going to be a masterpiece. You're going to do 10,000 drawings that are just nothing, just ideas and scribbles and everything. So that when you go to do an actually good drawing, then, then you actually have the muscle memory to get to that point. And it really worked out. I wish I could remember his name. I'd give him a call too, but I just think it's important that any teachers or anyone that helps you with things, you should let them know that you appreciate what they do, because they might not get told that. And sure, they're just there to teach people, and you know, everybody just wants to get their degree and carry on and go get famous and live extravagantly. But when you have someone that actually cares about, avert your eyes, children, when you have somebody that cares about their pupils and what they're doing, and you got to appreciate that, because that's fairly rare these days. Everyone's kind of seems to be, they just want to do it. They just care about themselves, and they don't want to help anybody, because it seems like if somebody else does good and then they get famous or they get popular or they become, I don't know how to say it, I guess if they become more popular or they strike it big or something, then that person, you know, they gave them an idea or something, and then it's like, well, this person got famous because of me, and here I am still doing what I do. I kind of have it's kind of a feeling that people should share their abilities and experiences and their knowledge with others, because why not? What's the worst that can happen? You brighten somebody else's day, or you make their lives better, or, you know. But that's just me. What do I know? I drink all the pickle juice before I even eat the pickles. Hello, Unreal Estate Agent 007. Only 15 watching. Actually, Jerry, Dave is my estranged uncle. Well, you know, I think 15 is probably the most people I've ever had watch at the same time. That's pretty cool. I'm pretty sure there's some kind of place where I can find the analytics for that stuff, but I don't. If I had 15 people or no people, I'd still be rambling away here. And I just enjoy doing this. And I get to hang out with my pal Fox, and I get to hang out with cats and anybody that's here. And sometimes the missus comes and yells at me, and everything works out good, and I have a good time. So 15 people, one person, no people. It's all good. I'm having a good time. I appreciate anyone that's here watching this because, you know, it's Saturday in the afternoon. You could be getting ready to go to a barbecue after unpitching your tent that you put up with minimal struggle. Good job, by the way. All right. Just about done here to put the ink onto everything. My favorite part, which makes me actually happy about the drawing. Because, like I said, while I'm doing all the painting, everything looks blobby and it just kills me. I'm like, ugh. Wait a second. One last thing. Gotta get my nice pink for the pink tube that Carl's got around his waist. Oh, yeah. Oops. Slop that water on there, dirty filth. Filthy bastard. All right, here we go. You'll have to give me 1 second here. I'll be right back. Need more tea. Need some water. Oh. I've returned after those messages, which I should actually get myself a proper intermission type thing there. All right, on to my favorite part. The inking. Oh, it's warm. It hasn't actually been that hot in Edmonton this summer. Mostly rain, which is okay. Because that way I'm not choking on any smoke. Alrighty. Here we go. Let's do Lady Nightcrawler first. Few Fresno Nightcrawlers. I'm pretty sure I know somebody that could make an army of them. Hey? How about that for a Mrs. Nightcrawler? Lady Nightcrawler. Hey, wait a minute. Did you bring the other guy too? Oh, yeah, he's here as well. Boy, good thing someone's got to bring him. Look at these two cool cats. They're going to go for ice cream later. Oh, boy. Yeah. Good old Nightcrawler. Out of my way, paintbrushes. Oh, yeah. I couldn't get away with doing some writing, but that's all right. We'll survive. By the way, these will be stickers. You know, Mary Kay, I bet you can draw. You just haven't spent like 30 years in scribbling cartoons instead of doing school. That's what I did. I turned out okay. Ugh, soggy. Yeah, slop all that water on there. Great. Well, If it discolors anything, then it's got character. Ice cream and tagging the trains, that's what they probably do. Except I know that for sure the Nightcrawler, he has a difficult time opening jars of pickles because his feet are pointy and he doesn't have any grasping limbs on the end. I have a cartoon about that. All right, 1 second here while I write this. I find if you stick your tongue out, it helps you with your concentration. But also, Mary Kay, you're probably talented in other ways. It's like me. I'm not musically inclined, and I like music, and I wish I could play anything besides like a synthesizer, because all you got to do is push 2 buttons and it works for you. But I'm not good at. I have no rhythm. I'm not very dexterous enough to play a guitar or bass or anything. So I just leave it to the professionals and enjoy their work. And buy CDs that I pile up in my basement and play, and my neighbors get to listen to great music all the time. They just might not enjoy it, but definitely it is good music. Look at that. Just get a little bone on her, on the top of her head. A little bone bow. And of course, because she goes to the local goth club, plays all the music. Usually she's got her little stompy boots. Hello, crybaby. What are you doing, mister? Hello, Mr. Gremlin. You coming up? He doesn't know what he's doing. He's orange. That's all you can. Yeah. Are you coming up or what? Figure it out. Come on. He gets about halfway up and then he's not very committed with anything in his life besides being a crybaby. I'd be upset too if my brother the gargoyle beat me up all the time. Okay? You're like double his size and you get beaten up by him all the time. Yep. There's a cat butt for you, everybody. Yeah, the gremlin's a good boy. A little bit slow, but he's a good boy anyways. Alrighty here. Actually, unreal. I originally, when I was younger and I did a lot of drawing, I did lots of portraits and everything. And I would go to the newspapers and everything and find pictures of people and I would draw them. And it was always really realistic portrait style things. And I just kind of got away with it for a while and I had a good time. And then the reason I went to cartoons mostly is I eventually started to notice that there were no good cartoons left. Everything was just turning into like Japanese animation, which I don't mind, by the way. But there wasn't a lot of cartoony style cartoons. So I kind of took it upon myself to try to do as many, tried to do as many cartoons as I could in the classic Looney Tunes, Ren and Stimpy style cartoons. And that's kind of where I went with all my art.
I think Benno just came up with a way that the Nightcrawler can get around his non-opposable thumbs.
Put the spray can in his mouth, and the other one depresses the nozzle. Tingaroony City. Tagaroony City. Ooh. Yes. Oh. Good enough. That's all I need. Just a little scribble and I'll be able to remember it. That's what happens when... Yes, boy. That's what happens when you draw a lot of cartoons. You end up getting a system down for yourself to figure out what you're going to draw next. But definitely, now, you know what? It's going to happen is basically the Nightcrawler is going to he's going to be all like, oh, I'm all nicely dressed, and the man in black's going to forget about me, and he's going to go start tagging things, and the man in black's going to have to come back and yell at him and be like, what are you doing?
Yes, but didn't he make friends with vicious zombies to keep the man in black at bay?
Good point. It's just an absolute gong show now. By the way, Fox helped me with all my ideas and everything. She gets that brain hamster going, and then next thing you know, we've got a ton of cartoons that at this point in time, I've got a whole bunch of ideas and everything that I haven't been able to draw because there's just too many of them, which is a good problem. And after the art walk, and we've done all the plushification cartoons and everything, and I get the second book all done, there's going to be some interesting stuff happening with some bunnies as well. Ooh. This is just, what black is that? Flash dry black. It doesn't really say. I can paint my nails just as good as most of the women I know. With both hands, because I can write with both hands, like I said previously. I just hope I'm not manifesting some car to come run me over again. Jeez. I don't want to get hit by a car. I'm going to get hit by anything. I want it to be like an angry Sasquatch bonk me over the head with a club of wood or something, or, maybe get squished by a rock. But thing is, I don't ever go into the forest, so I'm pretty much good, I would say. I don't think Sasquatch is going to make his way all the way into the Edmonton, all the way into the west end of town to bonk me in the side of the dome. I could be wrong. So if you guys never hear from me ever again, that's probably what happened. Sasquatch came and bonked me in the head with a rock and beat me mercilessly with a cord of wood of some sort.
What's your thoughts on Frazetta art? Asks 007.
Frank Frazetta is absolutely one of the best artists ever. His oil painting is just beyond belief. Death Dealer, probably one of my favorites. I have one of the books. I can't remember what it's called, but it has him on the front. But yeah, he did great art. His women were the, everybody's upset about his art now. They call it all types of terrible things because, he's a product of his time. But definitely Frazetta, one of my favorites. He also did a whole bunch of stuff with Ralph Bakshi, my favorite animator of all time. Yeah. Damn. His daughter's still on X. They have a page. I think it's called Frazetta's Girls, and they keep posting all his stuff all the time. And Ralph Bakshi also posts his work as well. Just absolutely amazing. Just to watch that guy. If you see, there's a couple videos of him where you can watch him do his art, and it's something else. Guys like that, Milo Manara, Frank Frazetta, stuff. They're just truly legends in that way. There's no way about it. The guy with just a couple strokes of brush paint can do muscle form and act like the action of a body that, other people struggle to do. And, he didn't have a copy paste, flip the page over internet, computer, Photoshop stuff. It was all hands-on, brush, canvas, stuff like that. They don't make artists like that anymore. And yeah, Frank Frazetta, one of my favorites.
Jerry Carter says, could you draw a scene from The Shining where Shelley Duvall opens the door and sees Bigfoot on his knees while Dave looks up in surprise?
Oh boy. Yeah, I could probably do that. Give me a second here to. Oh boy. Dave, if you're here, I'm sorry, but it's going to have to happen now. Actually, I'm not sorry, Dave. I love you, but I'm not sorry. I'll mail you that drawing, and you can put it in your collection of Dirty Filth drawings. Dave's, I think Dave and Brandon Fugel probably have the most of my artwork than anybody else in the world. I sent Dave when I used to mail drawings to him all the time, on a relatively frequent basis. I used to just pack up my stuff for my sketchbook and use that as packing paper because I had no other use for it. And I was like, Dave, I wrote a letter in there. He said, Dave, you can just burn this in your burn pile if you want. It's like, I'm not going to get rid of that Fylthy. I was like, yeah, you could. It's pretty much just useless junk, but actually, I have to title this Things That Happen at Crash 21. That's why Dave's reluctant to let anybody know where it is. He's out there smooching Sasquatch. Actually, in the Ghost song Kiss the Go Ghost, at the very end, he has a little like smooching sound. That's my absolute favorite. Oh boy. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. You people are bad influences on me. All of you. Make sure you come back next Saturday to influence me further. Actually, no, wait. Yes, we'll be here next Saturday, but not the Saturday after that. I'll be at the art walk. I think I don't know. I might be able to fandangle something where I can draw while I'm there for maybe half hour or something. I'm not sure. I'm going to try to figure out something to see if I can live stream from there, maybe. And I'm not sure if there's any rules against that or whatever. And I don't want to be in any bad graces with those people because I want to go back next year as well. It's not like they could say anything. I'll just hire a bunch of rowdy bikers to come hang out with us or something. I could always ask Chantel's pops. Irish, call your buddies from Red Deer and come up and hang out with us. But anyways, I think I'm going to try to do something for the art walk because then, well, I'm not going to be in the picture because I've got a face for radio and I'm just here to draw cartoons and I got nothing fancy to show off. But
who are your all-time favorite classic cartoon characters?
Ooh, Unreal Estate. Classic cartoon character. Well, number one, definitely Bugs Bunny, because my favorite before I go off on too much of a tangent here, my favorite Bugs Bunny episode, Looney Tunes, was High Diving Hare with Yosemite Sam. That was a good one. Anyways, Bugs Bunny. Second, easily the entire cast of the Raccoons. It's an old Canadian show. Most people have probably never seen it. I'm not a big fan of a lot of Hanna-Barbera stuff, but I always liked the Flintstones. Ren and Stimpy and Rocko's Modern Life was also really good. But for old classic stuff, definitely almost all the Looney Tunes. My all-time favorite Looney Tune character, besides like Bugs Bunny and everything, Marvin the Martian. He's my absolute favorite. I have a couple Marvin the Martian shirts, and I'm a sucker. Anytime I see a Marvin the Martian something, which isn't very often, I usually buy it. Because when I was a kid, my mom used to read I used to have these big books of Looney Tunes and everything, and she'd always make up the different voices. I think it's where I may have got my love for reading and whatnot. But yes, definitely my all-time favorite, Marvin the Martian, most of the Looney Tune guys. I used to like the Ninja Turtles as well. I don't know what classic is at this point in time because I still think like 10 years ago was like 1997, but I'm horribly wrong. And apparently I'm getting old, so yes. I guess that's what I have to say before I ramble any further. Marvin the Martian for sure, definitely. Okay, here we go. Looting some trees in the forest. Yeah, if you guys have any other questions, just feel free to ask away. That's why I get Fox to come over and hang out with me so I don't miss the questions, because I felt bad the first couple times I did this, and I went and rewatched the videos, and I noticed that people were asking questions, and I just kind of blah 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 on, and it's not very fair for people to sit and spend their time and ask a question and me not, at least respond to it. In case if you're wondering, I'm just kind of a vanilla ice cream type guy, unless you got cotton candy or blueberry. Actually, my favorite ice cream store in the entire city is a place called Pa Peterson's. They're really good. It's like an old Chinese lady and her husband there. They were old when I was in junior high school, and they're still old. So they're probably vampires, actually. So.
What about the Pink Panther?
Oh yeah, Pink Panther was always really good too. I used to watch Pink Panther the cartoon, not the Leslie Nielsen Pink Panther, which I also watched. Pink Panther was good as well. What other kinds of old cartoons? Right off the top of my head, I really honestly can't think of anything. Popeye the Sailor Man. Always loved that. And Felix the Cat. Loved Felix the Cat. My all-time favorite, because the thing with Felix the Cat that the artists always did is he'd be stuck somewhere and he'd walk back and forth and he'd think, and it'd be a little question mark that it would appear. And then he'd get an idea and he'd go, and the question mark would turn into an exclamation point, and he'd grab the exclamation point, pull it down, and he'd make a boat or something out of it, and he'd travel somewhere. That and Little Lulu and Little Audrey were always really good. I always liked those. Those were I think I still have some of the VHS tapes of Little Lulu. And there's one where she went to a department store and basically caused an entire ruckus. Cat fuzz. She caused an entire ruckus because she'd try something on. Hi, boy. Were you a whiner? Yeah, you're just a little crybaby. Have you considered going to bug your mother? Go bug your pal. Over there. Over there. Over there. It's difficult working with an orange cat. Yeah. But yeah, little Lulu went to a department store, and every time she tried something, the security guy was like, "Is this what you want?" She goes, "That's not what I'm looking for, mister." Also, one of my favorite Daffy Duck cartoons was, I can't actually remember the name of it. Anyways, it was back in World War II, and they had Daffy Duck fighting Hitler and everything, and he went behind them in enemy lines, and it was actually, no, I can't remember the name. Anyways, at the very end of it, he gets fired out of a cannon, and he bonks Hitler in the dome, and it's absolutely hilarious. A lot of those old Looney Tunes, they don't even share them anymore because, yeah, they're apparently bad. But everything's bad these days. I mean, the air you breathe isn't fit to breathe. The food you eat isn't even fit to eat and consume. And the usual is, yeah, well, he likes feet. The gremlin has a foot fetish. In case if anyone's wondering, he's a weirdo. He just sits around wondering if people are going to come over so he can play with their feet. And by play with them, I mean claw them to death.
Bite them.
Yep. I'm not sure where you can find any of the really old ones. There's also, it's not Elmer Fudd. It was a caveman, and it's a Looney Tunes cartoon. It's a caveman that he goes hunting for a dinosaur, and basically you can tell it was like a Elmer Fudd, not kind of a ripoff because it was Looney Tunes, but he goes and he tries to find a dinosaur and tries to hunt it, whatever, everything bad happens, and he ends up dying. And it was cool because those old cartoons back in the day, when someone would die, their ghost would come out of them, and it would either go up like Tom and Jerry, his die and his like ghost would come out of his body, and he'd go up on the stairways and go up to heaven, and they'd have like a number 9 or something on them. And that was a really good one. There, another, obviously I'm Canadian, another Canadian really good cartoon. If you go to YouTube, type in The Cat Came Back. That is absolutely one of my favorite cartoons. The Cat Came Back, and it's one of the few musicals I actually enjoy because I'm not a big musical guy. But yeah, the cat came back the very next day. Yeah, oh yeah, that was a good one. It's about a guy who gets a cat, and he's all excited about the cat, and then he gives the cat his little like binky toy, and the cat breaks it, and he gets all upset, and he throws the cat outside. And Captain Caveman, what's that?
Possibly the Elmer Fudd business.
That could be the Elmer Fudd guy. Yes. Are you guys taking notes? There's going to be a questionnaire at the end of this. So, actually, no, there's not. I haven't been taking notes either. But yeah, the Cat Came Back, one of the best. And there's also, it's the Waltz of the Log Rider, if I remember correctly. Log Rider's Waltz. Yes. See, the trouble of like learning other languages is a lot of them. Everything's all like backwards. Anyway, it's not important. Going off a tangent here. I got one more thing to do here, which is Carl on the beach, pantsless. Not like he has, anything to show off, but I mean, he was wearing his Speedo previously, but anyways, yeah, Log Rider's Waltz. If you get a chance and you can go find it, there's a book. It's called, if I remember correctly, it's called The Legend of Bony Legs, which is a North American flavored story about basically a Baba Yaga. And this girl, I think she loses a cat or something, or she gets lost in the woods. And she goes and she finds this old house that's standing on chicken feet. And she goes to the gate, and the gate is squeaky, and she takes some butter off of her bread and squeaks the gate. Or she WD-40s the gate, basically. And she helps a cat and all these other things. And she does all these, it's a lesson in humility, I guess. She does all these good things. And then when she eventually tries to flee the witch, the Baba Yaga, all the things come back and help her out. Like the gate doesn't open, so the witch can't go after her. The cat bites the witch, and so on and so forth. It's one of those type of interesting type stories. So, hey, why don't you just say type things 55 times there, Dirty Fylth? Like, oh my God. All right. We're nearing the end here, folks. Anybody that stuck around the entire time, I really appreciate it. Anybody that stuck around for 10 seconds, I appreciate it. I just really appreciate people listening to me ramble, and I'm having a good time, and I hope everybody else is having a relatively decent time.
There's another Dave and Bigfoot cartoon idea from Jerry.
Appreciate it. That's a good one. I actually drew a cartoon. Dave went to a Bigfoot conference. This was back in, oh boy, I've been doing this with Dave since 2018, maybe. Anyway, he went to a conference and some guy was like, oh yeah, Bigfoot's just a big hairy ape in the forest, and that's that. And he's all fine. But Dave's like, that just pisses me off. And Dave's on his monstrous rampage about it. Ow. Oh, that was a claw in a very sensitive spot. Oh. Thanks, Mr. Gremlin. Anyways, Dave's ranting about this guy was talking about Bigfoot being a unidentified ape, and so I have the drawing on my wall coming up the stairs to the studio, and it's like the quote was, that time Dave beat up that nerd at the Bigfoot conference. And I have a character that I've been drawing for a long time. He's just called the Nerd, and I always use him if you need to have some kind of guy kind of just get beaten up, or you need a server at a restaurant that's really annoying or something to that effect. But yeah, I'll have to do that one too. I mean, the Inhumanoids. What's an Inhumanoid? Other cartoons before I go here. Other cartoons I liked that were relatively newish. Undergrads was good. Apparently that was based on. Did you ever watch that? Apparently the cartoon Undergrads was based on Grant McEwen and the University of Alberta and Nate. I don't know if that's true or not. Could be just be something somebody said. But also Mission Hill was a really good cartoon series. And I associated myself with it a lot because the main character, Andy, great name, by the way. Andy was a cartoon. He just came up and then you walked away. And then he's orange, everybody. Just let him go. So here's the set of cartoons. But undergrads and Mission Hill. Mission Hill was really good because the main character, yeah, there's a cat butt for you. Mission Hill was great because the main character was a cartoonist, struggling cartoonist. I think he was 26. And when I was 26 at the time, I really appreciated, seeing myself in a set of cartoons. But I think it's time to go, Mr. Gremlin. All right, everybody. Fox and Mrs. Fylth, and not the cats, because you guys are jerks. We're going to go have a barbecue, and the cats are going to sit at home and eat raw meat. And Bucky O'Hare. Toad Wars. Oh, what about Street Sharks? That was always good. Biker Mice from Mars. Gotta love Biker Mice from Mars. Captain Planet, yeah. Captain Planet. Oh, and another great Canadian cartoon, Hercules. Except I never understood because Hercules in that cartoon, he would get beaten up and then he'd finally put his Hercules ring on and he'd be like, by the power of Hercules or whatever. Hello, boy. Yeah, Samurai Pizza Cats. This guy, definitely not. But he is a space frog. Look at your gut. Look at your gut, mister. Jog it off, fatty. Anyway, before I keep rambling here, I just want to tell everyone, thank you very much for hanging out with us, listening to me talk about cartoons and giving insight to my stuff. Remember, Monday to Friday, Dave Scott's there. Wednesday, you got Handsome Grantavius Flavius Maximus Legio 13. Mein Bruderschaft. And Fridays, you have Lee with Element 115. Oh, yeah. Wednesdays is Grantavius Max, the UFO Max. And on the weekends, you got also equally as handsome Mr. Rob G with a capital M, Mr. Not MR. It's fully MISTER, Rob G. You guys have a wonderful rest of your Saturday and pet all your animals for me. And if you have a snake or something, give them a mouse or something for a dirty filth. You guys have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you again next Saturday. Remain dauntless.